To know an idea about the world, it's very important to know how people are distributed. Now, Gapminder Foundation is independent. We are like a museum. We are at arm's length from the government. We are arm's length from business. We are a foundation. So we can divide the world as we see fit. And we decided that this is America. We joined it, but we said Greenland is occupied by Denmark, so it will be European. We also decided that Turkey belonged to Europe. Europe is very small, so we had to give both Europe a little. And we added also the whole of Russia all the way there. Then this is Asia, and we said the Australians and New Zealand, they have to be Asians. Get used to it. It becomes easier that way, you know. Because we found out if we just had 4 parts of the world, it becomes easier to remember. If you take away Oceania, you take away the Middle East, it's just start to complexify. Divide North and South America. So keep it like that, and we keep the colors the same. How many people are we? Well, we are 7 billion. 7 billion people. To be precise this year, 7.3 billion. How correct do we know? We know plus minus 0.1, 0.2 billion. We don't have this much wrong. We know how many people there are. And where do they live? 1 billion in America, 1 in Europe, 1 in Africa, and 4 in Asia. Pin code 1114. Remember that pin code now. It's the pin code of the world. If you then you know more or less it's 1 there, it's 1 there, 1 there, and 4 there. So most people are in Asia. Most people are in Asia. And what will happen up to 2050, 35 years from now, we know fairly well what will happen. Europe will not increase. America will not increase. A little more retired people in South America, but that's margin. Asia will get 1 billion more people. 1 billion more. But with that last billion, the fast population growth in Asia is over. From there on, there will be, can be a little more people, but more probably Asia will start shrinking. And Africa, in the next 35 years, will double their population. So an increase with 25% there and with 100% there. It's not so strange because population growth started, the fast population growth started there, followed there, and then there in Africa. It's not so different what is happening. It's just that it happens with some generation difference when it starts. Now by the end of this century, in 2100, then there will be no more in Europe, no more in America, no more in Asia, but there will be 1 billion, probably 2 billion more in Africa. And by then, it's estimated that the whole world population will have passed the fast population growth. There may be a little more people, 500 million more, or it may already have started to decrease. But more or less 10 to 11 billion there will be. And of course, the advice for Europeans is very clear, isn't it? Look here, 1 to 4. Start being polite to Africans already today. They will outnumber us. So any relation you will have with Africa, it's good to be polite. Not make them angry. And because they will be customers, they will be visitors, they will be tourists, they will be partners. They live in the same time zone. Time zone will be very important for business in the future. If you split this into North and South and East and West, we get what I call the Old West. You've heard that the Americans call Europe Old Europe. Now, they shouldn't brag so much. We can call the whole thing the Old. It was the countries that first emerged with strong economies, better life conditions, more education, democratic institutions, nice things, you know. They will in the future be less than 10% of the world population. When I went to school, they were 33%. They were 1/3 of the world population. It will be a very small part. And 80% or more than 80% will be living in Asia and Africa. The main sea of trade will not be the Atlantic, not the Pacific, it will be the Indian Ocean. The center of the world will not be London and New York, it will be Dubai. Dubai will be in the middle, the center of gravity of the world population. And also, if we look at the economy, we can see that of the economy in the world, 50% is in the Old West and 35% of the growth. That means economy is growing slower in the richest countries than they are here. The economy is there 50% and the growth is 65%. You may have heard, if you're interested in this field, you are listening, oh, the growth in China is slowing down. Yeah, of course it is, because China is getting so rich. The richer you get, the slower growth you have. I just spoke to a major bank now that invests in China today because I'm going there to lecture. And they said, that's just a lot of fuss. Yet China grows stronger with more money per year. If you grow with 5%, then you have $8,000. That's more than if you grow with 10% and you have $4,000. There's so many who want to say, oh, China's problem, or China's problem, because it's so difficult to imagine that China will do the complete catch-up. But when you travel there, we see how the tourists from China is increasing in Stockholm. It's going like this. And we see Chinese coming in, you know, being skilled. I worked with the Ebola epidemic in West Africa for 3 months. And we saw the Chinese team came there, very capable doctors and nurses, really motivated, seriously. They said, we want to learn the disease of Africa, we can help out, we are going to collaborate with Africa in the future. They send the best people, really good at working, highly motivated, very professional, nicely working together, and not so scared as the Swedes. They were more courageous, but professional. So you see how the world is changing. This is sort of psychologically difficult. I know that these 4 billion in Africa, oh, how will that be? Such a lot of problems. Whereas some of the major companies and the corporations are lectured to say, wow, what an amount of customers. Let's invest there. Let's build hotels there. That will be a lot of people. And you see these comments at the same time. If you want to invest money, some of you may inherit lots of money, you want to invest it somewhere. I have an advice. Why don't you buy beachfront property in Somalia? Strandtomt in Somalia. You don't think it's a good idea? Well, this is one of my best friends who did it. Associate Professor Asli Kolan at the Karolinska Institute. One of our fine researchers in global health, grew up in Mogadishu, had her medical training there, now a leading researcher here. And she said, those pension funds in Sweden, who knows? We better diversify. And she got this very nice piece of land, and this is her breakfast table. Doesn't it look nice? It's a very beautiful beach. It's one of the longest beaches in the world. And the nice thing with it, it has an inclination. So even if the seawater rises like this, you still have a nice beach. And this is just that it doesn't enter the head of people, you know, that this could be the future. We have solar energy with desalinated seawater. And people can come and relax on this beach. They can come with environmentally friendly boats. Oh, see how many people there are there? This is lots of people compared to Florida. Florida will be the backside of the world. I have a friend whose great-grandfather bought a piece of land on the beachfront in Florida. And they honor him now. Once upon a time, the family said he was stupid. And now everyone honors him. I'm sure that those who do it in Somalia, and I've been lecturing about this in several banks, JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, and at both places, young economists of Somali origin came up and say, I did the same. I also have a beachfront property. I did the same. The government can now issue land titles, you know, and we buy it. And it's nice. And I've cited in Financial Times on this advice. So you see, the idea of the world is like, in West, many people have what they are proud of in the back, whereas people in Africa and Asia have their pride in the front. And we are seeing changes coming. There are problems and there are wars, but what did we have in Europe? What did we have in Europe in last century? Most of the wars in the world was in Europe. So that one, I'll pick this one. Now, how much can we trust these numbers? See, talking about numbers, who will know what will happen with the population? We know it very well. United Nations Population Division, fine demographers, experts, independent people, they said, you know, back then in time, 1958, they did the first estimate of the world population. They said, we have 3 billion now, and everyone was surprised because at that time they thought it was 2.5 billion. So this was like a shock. And then when they said, our estimate says that it will grow like this, and by the end of the century we will be more than 6 billion, slightly more than 6 billion. And I remember this because it was published in 1960 when I was 12 years old. I had a very good teacher. And I remember the day when she wrote on the blackboard, we are 3 billion people, 3 0 0 0 0 all the zero. And then she turned around and said, and those experts said that we would be twice as many by the end of this century. Over the end of this century, that was 40 years. When you are adult, you know, there will be twice as. But everyone knows that that will not happen. It's impossible, of course. It is stupid to say that, because they say it will be more than 1 billion people in India. And in India there are Hindus and Muslims, and those people are fatalistic. They cannot plan for the future. They will starve and they will have a civil wars. It will not happen. This or that. And I had a good teacher. She was good. She was among the best. She just shared the opinion of the time. Never underestimate the arrogance of West Europe and North America. The arrogance towards other people. How we were spoon-fed this thing that it wouldn't happen. We couldn't imagine an India with such a lot of people and that things were better. They made another projection there, 1968, they did this 1978, and now we know what happens. We know exactly. 6.1. Respect for demography. They were 3% wrong in a 42 years prediction. 3% wrong. That's an enormous precision. And everyone said back then this will never happen. And you see 4 billions in Africa and you say that will never happen because. Because the European brain cannot imagine that. It can't imagine that. But the African can, and I'll tell you, scholars in Africa, what they say. What is the biggest change in Africa?
Growth and distribution. In this module, you will learn about population growth and distribution. Population growth refers to an increase in the number of people that reside within a state or country. The world population almost reached 500 million by 1650 and has since grown at an increasing rate. The following table provides information on the rate at which the world population has been increasing since 1804. Economic growth is advancing with the evolution in industry and agriculture, with improvements in medical care, health, flood control, fire protection, etc. All these elements have helped control the natural laws and thus decrease the number of deaths and increase in births. Population growth depends on the birth rate and death rate. Birth rate refers to the total number of births per 1,000 of a population in a year. Death rate refers to the total number of deaths per 1,000 of a population in a year. Population growth rate refers to difference between birth rate and death rate. The growth in the population is affected by proportional changes in the birth and death rate. Population changes in different countries at different stages, as shown in the following table. Countries like Japan and Italy show an even number of births and deaths, thus having a zero. on negative population growth. Population distribution is the pattern or arrangement of how people live in a particular area on the earth. Most of world population distribution is uneven. Population density refers to the number of people per square kilometer. Population density is calculated by dividing the number of people in a country by the area of that country. The following table provides information on the population density of some countries. Population distribution and density are affected by natural factors and human factors. Natural factors that affect high density and low density of population in three ways, namely relief, climate, and resources. Human factors that affect the density of population in three ways are political, social, and economic. The following table provides information related to the population distribution and density based on the natural and human factors. The following table shows the distribution and density of population in the continents of the world. The following table shows population density in select countries across the world. It is important to observe that the countries having a high population may not have a high population density. Let us now recap all the important points that we have covered in this module on population growth and distribution.
Selintas memang tidak ada yang spesial dari yang Anda lihat. Gang-gang kecil seperti ini, perkampungan yang padat. Tapi beda halnya jika Anda tahu saya berada di mana.
Saya harus berjalan melalui gang-gang di antara rumah-rumah yang saling berhimpitan. Mirip di perkampungan padat penduduk di kota besar. Tetapi, sekarang saya sedang tidak berada di perkotaan, melainkan di sebuah kampung di pulau kecil. Pulau yang sering disebut sebagai pulau terpadat di dunia.
Tadi saya bilang saya berada di kampung terpadat. Sekarang saya akan buktikan seberapa padat kampung ini. Inilah Pulau Bungin.
Pulau Bungin, sebuah pulau kecil dengan pemukiman sangat padat. Ukuran pulaunya hanya seluas 12 kali lapangan sepak bola. Saking padatnya, pulau ini bahkan tidak memiliki pantai. Sepanjang pinggiran pulaunya dipadati rumah-rumah warga. Pulau Bungin terletak di Kabupaten Sumbawa, Nusa Tenggara Barat, sekitar 2 jam dari kota Sumbawa besar. Untuk mengelilingi pulau kecil ini, dengan berjalan kaki hanya perlu waktu tak lebih dari setengah jam saja. Menyusuri kampung di dalamnya bagaikan masuk sebuah labirin. Nyaris tidak ada tanah kosong seperti kebun atau halaman rumah. Hanya terdapat satu petak lahan terbuka yang masih tersisa di Pulau Bungin.
Jadi inilah lahan terluas di kampung ini. Karena kampung ini tidak memiliki lahan yang luas, jadi mereka harus bermain bola dengan lahan yang seperti ini. Ini sih sebenarnya bukan lahan khusus untuk main bola, ini lebih ke halaman masjid sebenarnya. Tapi bisa digunakan bermain bola juga. Jadi mungkin di sore atau siang hari seperti ini mereka main bola, di malam hari buat pengajian kayaknya.
Karena tidak ada lagi tanah lapang, setiap hajatan pernikahan, warga selalu menggunakan lokasi ini untuk menggelar pesta. Saya kembali berjalan mengitari kampung dan bertemu Kepala Desa Bungin.
Pak Muksin, ini saya mau tanya-tanya sedikit tentang perkampungan sini, Pak. Luasnya kalau boleh tahu berapa nih, Pak?
8,5 hektar.
8,5 hektar. Jumlah penduduknya?
3.315.
3.315
jiwa.
3.300 jiwa menduduki tanah yang luasnya kurang lebih
8,5.
8,5. Itulah alasan kenapa kampung ini dikatakan kampung terpadat. Dan di sini nih suku Bajo ya, Pak ya?
Nah, suku Bajo mana?
Suku Bajo. Jadi gimana tuh asal mulanya? Kok bisa sampai ada di Sumbawa ini nih?
Oh, asal mulanya ini kan orang Sulawesi.
Iya, Sulawesi merantau atau?
Merantau.
Udah zaman dulu tuh ya?
Zaman dulu sudah bulan. Pokoknya 18-an.
18-an. Kalau saya perhatikan bahasanya pun yang mereka gunakan di sini bahasa Bajo ya?
Bahasa Bajo.
Jadi meskipun mereka tinggal di Sumbawa, mereka tetap pakai bahasa Bajo, bukan bahasa Sumbawa yang mereka gunakan. Dan untuk rumah, ini kalau saya perhatikan rumahnya ini kan tinggi
ya. Nah, memang faktor adat. Zaman dulu kan, artinya kalau dia menumbuk beras kan di bawah kolong dulu. Sekarang ini agak pendek sedikit.
Untuk penghasilan warga setempat, mereka bekerjanya itu nelayan. Mayoritas semua nelayan.
Dengan jumlah warga 3.300 jiwa dan luas pulau 8,5 hektar, berarti tingkat kepadatan penduduk Pulau Bungin sebesar 388 jiwa per hektar. Padahal, kepadatan penduduk idealnya sebesar 40 orang per hektar. Penduduk Pulau Bungin sebagian besar keturunan suku Bajo dari Sulawesi. Seperti perkampungan suku Bajo umumnya, rumah penduduk di Pulau Bungin juga berbentuk rumah-rumah panggung. Akibat lahan yang terbatas, ada beberapa keluarga yang terpaksa harus hidup dalam satu atap.
Sekarang saya akan menuju salah satu penduduk yang satu rumahnya tuh ditempati oleh 4 keluarga, 12 orang dalam satu rumah. Nih, rumahnya di sini. Nah, inilah rumah yang tadi saya bicarakan. Satu rumah ada 4 keluarga, 12 orang, Mbak ya.
Betul,
Semuanya tinggal di rumah ini.
di rumah ini
12 orang.
12 orang.
12 orang tuh yang menghuni orang-orang dewasa atau anak-anak? Karena kalau saya lihat ini banyak anak-anak nih.
Ya, yang 12 itu orang dewasa juga,
Heeh.
anak-anak, cucu yang tinggal 5 orang.
Tidurnya gimana, Pak?
Tidurnya, ya sama-sama mempunyai ruang, kan 3 ruang ini.
Nah.
Yang 3 kakak itu di atas dia tidur.
Oh.
Jadi kami sebagai orang tua tidur di bawah kolong.
Wah, ini nggak bener nih, masa orang tua suruh tidur di kolong, yang muda tidur di atas nih. Wah, ini kalau berisik bapaknya nggak bisa tidur dong.
Iya. Kalau ada jalan itu orang di atas
Iya.
itu ya nggak bisa tidur, orang tua di bawah.
Tapi enak sih, seru sih. Satu rumah ada 4 keluarga ya, jadi semuanya tinggal satu rumah. Enak, tapi yang nggak enak sih kayaknya ibunya nih. Kalau masak repot nih, masih banyak nih kayaknya nih. Mau nggak mau nih.
Di perkampungan Pulau Bungin, banyak kambing milik warga dibiarkan berkeliaran bebas. Padahal di pulau ini, hampir tidak ada tanaman yang tumbuh untuk makanan ternak, karena daratannya sudah sesak untuk hunian.
Siang, Bu Belda. Jadi sekarang posisi saya tuh pas deket kambing, tapi yang spesial di sini kambing ini tidak makan rumput, melainkan dia makan kardus. Jadi ini nih buktinya nih. Dia lagi ini sehari-hari makanannya begini, Bu.
Ini kalau nggak ada itu, kalau ada juga daun.
Kalau ada daun ya. Kalau ada
Kalau ada,
daun, kalau ada. Dan sedangkan kalau nggak ada ya otomatis
ya kan ini
makan ini kardus. Terus
uang juga jatuh dia makan.
apa, Bu?
Kalau uang jatuh, uang kertas itu dia makan.
Kalau ada uang jatuh,
Ya.
kertas
Ya.
dimakan. Kalau koin nggak kan, Bu? Dia tuh makan uang. Itu memang asli makan uang, Bu ya? Nggak peduli berapa nominalnya, yang penting uang kalau ada jatuh dia makan.
Dia makan.
Ya karena memang kalau saya perhatikan di kampung ini tuh banyak banget kambing, dan yang jadi masalah itu lahan di sini tuh sempit. Karena pemukimannya padat banget, jadi lahannya juga sempit dan memang nggak ada rumput di sini kalau saya lihat. Jadi dari tadi memang saya agak berpikir, ini kambing-kambing ini makannya apa? Ternyata saya tahu jawabannya sekarang. Kambing-kambing ini makan kardus, kertas, uang kertas, dan plastik. Kalau ketahuan yang punya diambil, kalau nggak tahu ya masuk.
World population is growing at an exponential rate every day. Does the Earth have enough resources to feed its human population? How much wheat and rice should be produced? What if you are forced to be a vegetarian by the government? What if restaurants offer beetles and other insects as their main dish? Some of these questions may sound hypothetical. However, if the population continues to grow at a current pace, your grandsons and granddaughters will have to answer these. Before looking into future projection, let's look at the history of population growth. Around 10,000 BC, the nomadic humans started doing settled agriculture. The total human population was only a few millions at that time. During the initial years of human civilization, both the birth and death rate were considerably high. Death due to animal attacks, less immunity to diseases, disputes among humans due to the lack of proper means for conflict resolution, were the major reasons for the high death rate. Despite these reasons, the human population reached the first 1 billion mark in 1804 AD. But this time humans started gaining more control over their birth and death rate. Invention of vaccines reduced the death rate to a great extent. But again, it took only 123 years to reach the 2 billion mark. At this time, the world population was growing at a faster rate. Number of years required to reach the next billion mark was reducing at a faster rate. According to the United Nations Population Report, world population will be around 7.8 billion by the end of 2020 and will reach 9.7 billion by 2050. By the end of the 21st century, it is estimated to cross 11 billion. Next comes the interesting part. Can the Earth feed this humongous population with the resources in hand? The total amount of arable land in the world is around 3.5 billion acres. If we plan to expand this area, it comes at the cost of deforestation, which will result in loss of many species, climate change, and other unimaginable environmental problems. The better option is to improve the yield of current vegetation, which includes cereals and pulses. Another idea put forth by experts is choosing a vegetarian diet. Meat consumed by people all around the world is around 330 million tons per year. The calorie gained by the livestock from the pastures is not fully delivered to meat eaters, as there is a loss of energy in the food chain. So if we can divert the pasture and cereals directly for human consumption, we can feed an additional 3.5 billion people. But if we eliminate the meat industry completely, the livestock's contribution to the fertility of soil, in the form of manure, will be reduced. To balance this, we should find an alternate source for increasing soil fertility. While on it, is there a way to control the population growth? Birth rate, death rate, and fertility rate are the major parameters in predicting the future population. Fertility rate is usually mentioned in terms of the number of children per woman. During initial times, governments followed forcible measures to control the population. China's one-child policy was one among them. Due to various population control measures by governments, the world fertility rate, which was at 3.2 in 1990, declined to 2.5 in 2019. And it is projected to fall below 2.2 in 2050. Experts suggest that instead of enacting forcible laws and policies, proper education and health measures will help in controlling population growth. As the life expectancy of people is increasing due to medical advancements, the potential support ratio, which is the ratio of working age people to old people, is declining at a faster rate. By 2050, in most of the countries, this ratio will be less than 2. This implies that the aid to old people must be extended by the government, which will be difficult with the given less number of working people. Hence, depending on the population growth, whether rising or declining, water, food, health and environment takes a hit. Positive changes cannot be made in a day. We have got only one Earth for humans. Act wisely so that our future generations wouldn't be liable for the mistakes committed by us.